record at the same time. See, start replay buffer, schedule stream. Oh, that's nice. A lot of cool stuff. Test widgets. Subscriber. Donation. Let's see that. Does it do anything? Huh. Okay. Well, what's going on, everybody? I'm still kind of figuring out this live thing for the first time. I know there's a lot of things you should or should not do when going live, but I'm just trying something new. Figured I would have a conversation about a problem I've been having with my computer, which hence will be eliminated soon, and I'm pretty excited about that. Basically, let's see here. Let me get my list going. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So that's how it shows it. So if I do subscriber, it would show there. What's going on, Trevor? How you doing, man? So today I'm going live, basically talking about some problems I've had with a motherboard in my computer, where every single time I would go live, or not live, I'm sorry, every time I would turn the computer on, stuff like that, it wouldn't boot. So I was like, man, you know, what in the world do I got to do? You know, I do IT for a living. I've done IT where I run around and fix stuff. But you don't know what you don't know, and you have to like have a way to troubleshoot. And so for me, no joke, I broke the whole thing apart. Matter of fact, I will swing this thing over and show you. As you can see right there, got it open, and you know, it's been a work in progress, basically. You know what I mean? Like, I've had a lot of issues with it, but I troubleshot it. I took everything apart, unplugged all the power connections, and found out that even when I would have only the motherboard powered on, it would still do it. So that told me, okay, it's the motherboard. I replaced it, right? Let's see what. Yeah, well, I already mentioned that I'm basically talking about the motherboard issue. Reading these comments, I'm getting used to this new setup they have here called Streamlabs. I've used OBS, which is another software, but I haven't checked out Streamlabs. The integration with YouTube's chat system's pretty cool, so that's nice. You can see your subscribers. That's pretty cool. You can see people that have donated, which is pretty awesome. I'm just trying to see how that stuff works so I can make sure I'm paying attention to that. But basically with that, I went ahead and jumped on eBay and I got a replacement motherboard, a better motherboard. It's going to be an Asus instead of an Asrock. And I believe the thing is with Asrock, a buddy of mine has even had the same problems with his wife's computer. And so to me, I personally feel like, you know, probably not the best motherboard to use. You know, I think, Trevor, I think Streamlabs could be PC only, but hey, you know what? We're live, baby. Why don't we check it out? So I'm on their Streamlabs website. Let's see what's going on. I don't know for sure. It looks like it may be only for Windows. I see you can download it. It looks like it's only got a download option for Windows. I think that is correct. Yeah. For right now, that's the best that I can see. Let's see here. Yeah, pretty much seems like it might be just for Windows, PC only. But OBS is on Mac as well. I've used OBS, the primary application, which is the open source app. I've seen people use that on Mac as well. I don't know how good it is on either platform, but I'm super excited about the new motherboard, though, because I'm going to have 8 channels or 8 slots for memory, and I currently only have 4, sitting at 16 gigabytes. The switcher, Are you talking about like, let me see, is that another website? Switcher? Let me look that up. Let's see what we got here. Switcher Studio. Okay. Oh, it's more of a paid version. Okay. Let's see what it does. I mean, usually paid versions just have a lot more features, more robust things that you have to usually do hacks for, is what that might seem like. Yeah, spice up your streams with logos, graphics, pre-recorded videos. So you got pre-roll, things like that. Yeah, it looks like an entire studio. Yeah, I see here now. That's nice. That's pretty cool. Interesting. How much is it though? That's the question, right? How much is it? You got the free trial. If you did annual, it's $280 a month, but you do, wow, wait, oh, that's okay, different plans. So if you did the basic, it would be $375 a year. I mean, honestly though, if you're like a regular creator, you're making AdSense, you got some deals going where you have some maybe you got some merch or whatever, I can see maybe Switch Studio, you know what I mean? That's a $375, that's justifiable. I mean, there's like more expensive annual products, you know what I mean? Interesting though. I like, the thing is, there's another thing, Trevor, let me see, what was that? It was Sling Studio, I think is what it was called. Sling Studio. That was, yeah, that's right. Sling Studio. The Sling Studio was what I was looking at for like a church live stream. And actually, I've thought about getting it just for myself, because Sling Studio, I think you can do the same thing, but you don't have to actually, well, I take that back. I may be speaking too soon. Hold on, let me look at these features again. I haven't checked it out in a while. Because it's basically, what's cool about it, though, is this. And one of the reasons why I think it'd be an interesting, because you can use it with Switcher, actually. It says that right here. Use it with Switcher, Mixer, some other things. But primarily what's cool about it is you can basically attach these modules to different sources of images or videos or whatever. Or streaming videos, what I meant. And yeah, well, if they got a base one that's like 1,000 though. Yeah, the Sling Studio Hub is 1,000, and that can hook up to like just your system in general. Everything else, I think they have maybe other not products, but like bundles. Yeah, bundles. They probably got other bundles for sure. But yeah, I mean, I like the system though. It's interesting. And in the grand scheme of things, it's probably a good idea for churches. That's for sure. But on to my next point, though. Let's see what we got going on here. I appreciate you for stopping by, Trevor. I always appreciate you, man. So, notorious issues that people have that they spend hours on, waiting on hold for someone when they could really just reboot their computer or log out, close their app or reopen, whatever. So I do IT for a living, and I really just wanted to kind of discuss the reality of where we're at in 2020. Like, I get it. Like, there's a lot of people that don't know things, or they're not technically savvy or whatever, but like, without going into detail about what I deal with on a daily basis and being like sort of vague, I see people that won't even go so far out of what they're doing, because they can do their job, but the minute what they do, what somebody showed them doesn't work, it's like they're broken. Like, they can't do anything. And like that, I understand it if people truly just don't know. But when I've seen people, what bothers me, I'll see people like they'll go and troubleshoot something, or they'll know how to do something, and then when you ask them, hey, can you go back to doing this, and they just sort of like act as if they don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just a general frustration, but when people know how to do things with their home electronics, but it seems like they don't know what they're doing when it comes to figuring things out at work. Because the reason why I bring it up is because we're going through a time where nobody's ever really been. You know, we're going through this pandemic, but people are working from home. And there's so much that goes into that, and a lot of issues, because, you know, enterprise environments, they can't, like, you know, help with people's personal computers. And, you know, when the reality is all you have to do sometimes is shut your computer down, turn it back on, close out the browser, open it back up, and those kind of things. And so, I don't know, maybe it's me just wanting to encourage people to invest more in themselves. It's more of a selfish thing, right? Because if you're having IT problems, and Trevor, if you're still watching, man, you know this as well as anybody. Yes, you could take your desktop computer, which I know you've spent good money on, you could take that to Geek Squad, but if it's something that you could figure out yourself and it would take less time because maybe something's not working right, but your computer still works, and it would actually cost you money not to have your computer or laptop for that matter. You know, as a creator, man, not having your laptop for days, like that's money, you know? And so it would behoove people in those areas, like, you know, creators, etc. What's up, man? How you doing? You know, it would behoove creators to learn a little bit about troubleshooting computers, right? Maybe troubleshooting software, troubleshooting, you know, a component in their computer. It's not to say they have to be an expert, but as a business owner, you have to like find a way to save money, and the best way to do that is if you can do it yourself, you're saving a couple $100. And that's kind of where I'm getting at with these issues that I'm noticing. And I get it. Like the people that I'm helping every day, they're not business owners. They're just trying to do their job. But in a sense, they're sort of a business owner of their job, so to speak. And what I mean by that is I've literally heard people cry on the phone because they're afraid they're not going to be able to do their job and their boss is getting down their throat about it, which that whole paradigm doesn't make any sense at all, because if they're legitimately having an issue with their equipment, yet they're still expected to do their job, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you don't want to wait on hold for hours to get help with something, I'll give you an example for the people that are on live right now. Like if you use Adobe products and you have a problem with Adobe and Adobe stops working, I've found more likely than not that it has a lot to do with cache, has a lot to do with, you know, certain folder directories. And, you know, maybe you get one phone call with them and figure out what's going on. But guess what? You've now learned how to fix that problem in the future. And so, you know, as a creator, it's definitely helpful to like, you know, document that knowledge. Like, okay, because if I'm going to forget, like I know if I have the same problem like a year later, you know, it would be a good idea for me to like document that. Like, okay, if I have this problem again, this is what I do. And that would save a lot of money. And that's kind of where I'm getting at. It's not so much, you're kind of being really selfish there, because you don't have to spend like an hour on the phone or waiting on hold in those scenarios just to get some help because you're having a problem with a piece of software you use for your daily job. And the other thing too is like if it's hardware, you know, you can unplug it and plug it right back in. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of keep at it and keep going. But a lot of times people don't want to try the things that may seem to be like the easiest solution. I was on a phone call with somebody for over an hour because they were guiding me the wrong way, and it's not that I didn't have the knowledge. It was I'm sometimes you're limited to what the person is giving you. Like you can only troubleshoot so much based on, even if you know what the problem is and what the solution would be, you can only do so much based on what they're giving you. And so when I finally got to the point of realizing that was the problem, you know, it's like, oh yeah, just do me a favor, just unplug it, plug it back in, you're good to go. And do was done. And so it's stuff like that where, man, these simple things, man, it's 2020, guys, come on. It's not a judgment, it's just to say there's more you can do for yourself to invest in yourself so that you don't have to deal with being on hold, you don't have to deal with you losing out on money as a business owner or creator, etc. Another thing too, updating to the latest software, that's sort of like a given on that. Like if they're having issues with software, sometimes updating to the latest does fix that. Now hold on a second, let me get some liquid here. The other thing too though is not relying on other people. I kind of touched on that, but let me kind of touch on this other point. I'll dive more into the not relying on other people. It's more of like a selfish nature, right? Like, it's not to make you a selfish person. It's just to say there's a certain amount of balance between being selfish and selfless, right? But doing research beforehand. So, for example, as a creator, right? You're looking to get equipment, right? And you don't know a ton. Trust me, even as somebody who loves computer technology, you know, Mac, I own a MacBook Pro laptop, and I'm looking to switch over to, you know, pretty much the Apple ecosystem. I may still have a Windows PC or desktop for sure, but I found as a programmer, as a creator, a video creator, that the platform lends itself more to that community in both functionality and environment, specifically when I'm talking about programming. I was trying to set up environments for Windows, and I just had, and when I say environments, I'm speaking of like when you install software and you have to set up, the command line stuff, and that's what I mean by environments. Whereas in the Mac environment or in Linux environment, because I'm kind of dual booting 2 operating systems right now, I do Windows and Ubuntu Linux, and it's been a great experience because and then I found there's some things that is better in Windows versus Linux, because there may be solutions, but they don't work. And so I found that too, where that can be an issue sometimes in Linux. I love the command line experience of having to install things and work with things, or, fix things, whatever. But I found that, yeah, sometimes there is some issues where, it's better in Windows. But then again, the caveat to that is Mac is the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Maybe not so much on the enterprise level. I can see where that can be problematic, but you'd be surprised. There's actually a ton of Mac Minis being used in the enterprise environment for like virtual environments. So that's pretty interesting. But I've used Linux and Mac to build programming environments, virtual environments when I'm doing things, and it was a lot easier. So in my opinion, that's kind of why I'm going that direction. In addition, I've found that Windows, there's different, like, for example, like RAW codecs. I don't film in RAW, like, some people do, I don't. But for those that film in like RED cameras, for example, I've seen videos where some people are like, there's issues with the codecs, like just playing back RAW 8K files in different environments, whether it's Windows or Mac, and there's issues in between. So that's where I'm talking about, like, per what you do for your daily grind. That depends on the machine you're going to need, and doing the proper research beforehand to know, like, what are you going to be doing. It goes down to that being that simple. Like, if you're doing podcasts, well, guess what? You're going to be audio intensive unless you're including video in that. Then you want to do basically a setup that's good for audio and video, and so on and so forth. And there's an argument to be had, like, when you start out, like, which direction do you go? If you have money, it's always good to outsource things, to be honest, because if you have the capital, it's about time management at that point, based on what I've learned. Let's see. Don't rely on people. 2020, yeah, pretty much talked on that. The other thing, too, is, like, when you become tunnel vision and you don't want to step outside of what you're doing, and you're so stuck in this area where you're thinking you're afraid of what your superior or somebody would say, and you're not thinking outside the box, and then you come to realize that you're just doing what you're supposed to do, when in reality, if you thought outside the box, you'd realize no one really knows what's going on or the best thing to do. They just figured out how to think for themselves, and no one has stopped them. And that's really key too, because, like, that's a tough thing. And I'll admit, that's not easy to jump out of. But when you start thinking for yourselves, you realize, oh, wow, it's actually easier to do this thing over here, or for me to figure it out. Oh, I figured it out. And then people will be kind of amazed, like, oh, wow, you figured it out? How'd you do that? Well, I just kind of just stopped thinking I couldn't do it and realized that it's a possibility that I could, and just started asking questions from there and kind of going down that direction. And then there's also an issue where you at a certain point you have to stop if you can't figure it out, or you have to, like, put a limitation on that. But still, the point is still to be made of think more for yourself and think outside the box, and you'd be surprised how much more you can do when you stop allowing yourself to basically be the wall that you can't get past. And that's actually something I've actually experienced before and still experiencing, where sometimes, for example, I'll actually kind of divulge a little bit why, and I actually have an update that I believe is live now, or it's going to be in a future video, of why eBay sort of been tough for me. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's hard to leave the base. I'm working from home. The wife actually can't leave base, so it's more difficult if I leave base. It's possible that I could, But anyways, some people are being successful on eBay. But one thing that I know that I could try for eBay is the drop shipping portion of eBay, because people still do drop shipping on eBay as well, and there's some profit margin there to be had. I guess the only difficulty I see there is I care for the customer experience, and I know that unless I'm like explicitly saying that this is from Best Buy, they're going to get the packaging from Best Buy with all the Best Buy documentation, or whatever. And the box is obviously going to look like it's coming from Best Buy. So that's kind of the point I'm getting at. It's like, I don't know about that, and I haven't tried it. So am I going to say I'm not going to do it? Of course not. But to go into, I guess the last thing I have here is, and then we'll kind of touch on what I was about to get into, is that we're capable of more than we think, right? Like, I truly believe that, and I truly know that, and I've seen that to be the case with myself, is that I'm more capable, and I've allowed myself, specifically with this live stream, one things I've wanted to do with live is I want to get my watch time up, because my goal is to be monetized, to be able to be monetized on YouTube, and I can't do that if I don't get my watch time up. So I'm actually probably going to do a live stream once or twice a week, maybe more. The other thing I was thinking of too is basically saying to those that have questions, IT related or otherwise, for digital marketing, etc. Because I know I have like digital marketing experts, people that I'm friends with on Facebook. Trevor Lee does digital marketing for himself, for his music, for his brand, and he does that for a living. So, people like that wouldn't be really geared towards them, but it would be geared towards the people that maybe own a business, that maybe, whatever. I've experienced enough to know certain directions that people can go. Like, it takes money to do ads. And so there's things to be learned with ad creation. And, there's certain directions people could go with certain things. Like, I've seen people that boost posts on Facebook, and that's not really the best approach. It's not saying that it's not going to get your content in front of people. It's about understanding the underlying goal, the underlying purpose of boosting that post. What are you trying to do? Are you just trying to get people to engage? Well, you could do an engagement campaign if that's what you're getting at. But if you're really trying to get people to buy a product, like in the and I'm doing the quotes, is just because like a product could be anything. A product could be, this book, for example. Maybe you're trying to get people to buy this book. Something I'm looking into is affiliate marketing. Like affiliate marketing, not just with Amazon FBA, or not Amazon FBA, but like Amazon products, right? That's something I want to do as a channel eventually, is, how everybody has their kits or whatever the case, what they use, and that's how they can get affiliate, revenue coming through with that source. But when it comes to, hold on one second. When it comes to digital marketing, like, I guess one of the things that I wanted to do, and maybe I can do that with these live platforms that I'm going to be doing, is like, there's more that you can do, but you're so stuck in your ways. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other night, excuse me, with a church I used to go to, and I was asking about like, hey, what's going on with the content? What's going on this? And I found out the systems that I set in place, they're not really doing it. They're just doing the live portion of the system that I set up. But I sort of asked myself, like, why wouldn't they? And it's funny because it's not like what I'm going to say is not a judgment. Okay, it's literally just it's funny for me from my perspective on how from day one I was telling them the social and digital platform is something you want to have in place, because when there is demand, you want to have a system ready. And for me, I found by building content on YouTube and other platforms and just taking action, like I've dedicated myself to at least doing one video a week and, trying to give as value as much as possible. And so I thought, okay, I'll do that with business, tech, and life. Why life? Well, because I actually like to discuss things that may not have to do with tech or business. Business, because my goal this year is to have a profitable business. Even if I fail at eBay, that doesn't matter. I want to find a way to do a profitable business. And the funny thing is one of the reasons why the video creation stuff, or the video business side of things that I did with Iron Digital Media, I wouldn't say that's entirely a failure, so to speak. I would just say that, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I realized that what I did wrong was I didn't actually build a good service that I could sell and could take in 5 or 10 clients in a month or so, depending on what it was. You know what I mean? For example, like because I had the Adobe Suite, I don't have it anymore, but when I had it, I could do, like, for example, Instagram promotional content for stories, for video. I mean, just strategy on how to approach different services or products for businesses, and could sell them on that. But then, I'm analytical, so I go into an issue that some people struggle with, where it's analysis paralysis. And so that's kind of what's halted me in a lot of things. And that's just a personal struggle. And when it comes back to the YouTube content, it's like, well, how do I make content if I'm struggling with certain things? Like, how do I communicate that? And just that, I've realized, is just basically say that I'm struggling. Don't try to be an expert on something that I'm struggling with, but just be honest about it and still pursue and study and learn. And so with the digital marketing stuff, like, I do have knowledge, but I found that it's frustrating for me when I talk to certain people, and I've shown that the knowledge has value and it comes from a valid source, and some people don't take action. And so, but there's nothing you can do there. And I've learned, as a personal growth point of view, is there's only so much that you can do. Like, in addition, you can't put yourself in a spot where you're not needed. Does that make sense? Like, and it's not a judgment on me. It's not to say it's a pride thing. That's another thing I've realized. It's a pride thing. You don't have to be the guy in the room that knows everything. You don't, because when you start doing that, you really kind of put yourself in a position where you're not perceived as knowledgeable, because you're trying to defend something that wasn't asked for, I found. And the tough part about that is it was needed. The digital marketing for the church was needed. The podcast was needed. And all the podcast was actually a real easy system. All we needed to do was create a pre-roll of the podcast and a post-roll on the podcast. And the audio in between would just be cut from the actual sermon itself, or from the actual, service. And then it was easy to kind of, all you would do is throw the video, and I know I'm being technical, but I'm just sort of like expressing the steps that I built, was to have the two pre-roll and post-roll files edited together, and then they would be single files, just named that, pre-roll and post-roll. And then you would have the service that you would just, because what we do is we would stream it, but we'd record it at the same time. And then you throw the video file into Premiere and just export the audio by itself. But what you could do also is just cut the video and then have the pre-roll and post-roll, put that together, put your in and outs, and then export that as an MP3, and then boom, you got a whole podcast. And then because we were trying to cut down what people needed to do, we would just, try to get a short description and then a title of the message from the pastors, and then boom, there you go. You just put that in there, and then I had it set up for SEO as well, search engine optimization, because Pastor Mickey Fried was somebody that people knew. So I was like, great, I'll make sure I put that. And so you have the speaker, and then you have the title, and then you have the location, right? So the location was Lifegate Church, or Lifegate Church International. And so people knew and could associate when they're searching for Lifegate, oh, wow, there's podcasts, oh, there's videos. And so we'd have the same system for YouTube, in addition to, and that's also, like in YouTube, where you have to set your default uploads. So that's sort of like the process. And then having that in place, very easy, takes like 15 minutes to do right after the service. And so I bring that up to say, like, people now are in a position where all they can do is stream it on video or listen to it on podcast. We don't have an option to go into church because we're supposed to social distance, right? And so that is something for business to understand. It's not like, oh, I don't have time. It's like, no, please understand that these systems being in place is not for right now. It's for when people start to notice you, or when you have a system in place in your business, like if it's a local place and it's an essential business right now, people are still coming into your business. And all you need to do is switch it around. I have a buddy who owns a computer repair store, and so I've tried to encourage him to do video. And when he does, he gets great results because he is a great guy. He does business very well. He does great customer service. He treats his customers great, and people just know him. They're excited about him. He's also in business communities, business groups, and stuff like that for entrepreneurship and business owners and stuff. And so people know him and they love him. And I said, man, if you did video, people would eat it up, And then if you kind of built that into your sales process or your process when you're dealing with customers in store, just letting them know, hey, yeah, we're on YouTube, or hey, yeah, if you want, because I think what people need to know too is, and Trevor, if you're still watching, buddy, I'm pretty sure that you can understand this. People can Google how to do the services you provide. People can grab a smartphone and take photos of their drop shipping products, and they can do that, but it's an issue of time, or it's an issue of, I don't know how, so I'll pay someone. And so that's why, I think if people teach people how to do something, you'd be surprised how many people are going to be like, oh, sweet, you do that? Nice. Can I hire you? That's great that you're teaching me, but I'd prefer not to do it myself. I prefer to have you do it, but I can see that you're knowing how to do it. I'm watching you do what I would want to do, and I just don't understand that. So here's my money, and that's kind of to wrap this up here. That's kind of where I'm getting at. That's kind of the stuff that I want to do. And I kind of like how this is another thing I'm learning that I've gotten way better at with the previous videos that I've done, where I've made outlines and stuff like that. And so, the outlines work really well. I don't know if you can see that. See if I can zoom in or auto adjust, or, okay, it's not going to do it. Anyways, or maybe you can, there you go. You see it. Yeah. So making outlines, definitely, making sure that I'm trying to stay on point. I don't, the last kind of rant was still on point with what I want to do with this channel, is to help people learn, but also to help document my knowledge. Because I found myself really being frustrated. I know what I'm talking about, but I didn't have anything documented. I talk about it. I'll make videos, but I haven't really focused on making that a part of my digital content. And so that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward, is I'm going to be doing stuff like that. That makes me more interested in that topic, because I really do enjoy it. I love it because it's helping me find solutions for businesses and people to, take action on. I've actually learned a lot about sales too. And that's a more of a broad topic. But what I mean by that is brick and mortar stuff, people in the store, me talking to them, figuring out what they need, and then applying that. And then, oh, hey, by the way, we do, videos on YouTube, social media stuff as well. You should definitely connect with us on there. The cool thing about that is, I will actually say, real quick, is that businesses that do communication with customer service on Twitter or other platforms, that's amazing. We had to, unfortunately, as a family, switched to T-Mobile because they had a great military discount. And I was loving that price point. The problem was the signal. For the life of us, and this was frustrating because it was during Teresa's training, which means our communication was limited. So it was even more important that we had good signal. But we switched for the price, and it was terrible. The signal, I couldn't get a call in my apartment to save my life. I had to be outside of my house, and even then it was hard to get a call. And so, we ended up, I talked to them for multiple times. I reached out to them on Twitter. I was frustrated, and they actually reached out. They did everything they could as a company to keep me as a customer. They gave me the little tower for your house and the whole 9 yards, but it didn't work out. And at the end of the day, I had to switch because I couldn't get good signal. Not that they didn't do everything they could. I wouldn't bash on them like that, but their customer service was great. It just didn't end up working out for me on that situation. So yeah, so I'll wrap it up here, guys. Trevor, I appreciate you. I know there was one other person that chimed in. I really love the fact that in Streamlabs, I can see the comments in here, and I don't actually have to be on this YouTube page. That's actually pretty interesting. But one thing that I'm going to be leaving you here with is, if you have a technical question, if you have something in IT, or oh, my light just died, anything like that, what I'm going to be doing in the future is basically saying, look, I would love to answer your question. What I'll do is this. If you have a question that you're trying to get answered, I'll do the research right here on live with you. I will work with you. All I would ask, because I'm trying to actually, continue with the debt journey and pay off debt, is just throw me $1 in the super chat. Just $1. I'm not asking for anything more. Just $1. And then I'll do the work for you. And I'll solve the problem that you, maybe you've had problems, or maybe you have the solution. And, oh yeah, Trevor, I'll call you, man. Don't worry about it. I just gotta drink some water. And I thought of this idea because I think that it would be a good way for me to provide value, and who in the world doesn't have $1? And so if that's asking too much, I don't know. It's just a way for me to do something I know how to do in a platform I know that can provide, that reciprocal nature. So anyways, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining. I'll see you guys in the next live. Have a good one.